Alright, just thought I'd check in. Right now I'm trying to overclock it and get it stable. I'm trying to set my 24/7 overclock. Not really a huge bencher, so I haven't really, tried to see how far I can take it. I've booted into Windows pretty easily at 5 gigahertz, but it won't. I haven't given it enough voltage or anything to be able to be prime stable at that speed or anything like that, and quite frankly I really don't care to, because I know I'm not going to run it like that, so it's really not a concern of me whether it will do it or not, because it's not going to be like that on a 24/7 basis. I kind of think some of the reason I've had a little stability trouble to this point is because I have 16 gigabytes of memory. So you're like, well, take out a stick and see what that does, see if it's stable. But again, I really don't care, because it's not going to run. I'm not going to leave 8 gigabytes laying on the table. So I just want to get it set for 24/7 use. I've kind of identified 1.4 volts as my max. Thermally, I could take a lot more than that. I could probably give it 1.5, but I'm not going to do that. I want it to be safe. Chances are, with Ivy Bridge coming out, I might only own this processor and motherboard for 6 months to a year, and I'd like to be able to honestly tell somebody when I sell it to them that it's I've been safe on it and it's got a lot of life left in it, and I'm not worried about it. But anyways, I got some more stuff yesterday. I was waiting on a couple cables and a couple extra fittings. I had ordered an extra 45 adapter because I needed it in the way I had it set up before, but it actually turns out I put it down here at the bottom instead of where I had a 60, and that makes that a little nicer. My pump kept wanting to turn out a little bit, so I just restuck it down and let it sit where it felt comfortable. So it's not exactly in there at a perfect angle, but I don't really care. Nobody's gonna look at it that close. I also added a quick disconnect here, and my fill tube is right here. I just have a little funnel with another quick disconnect. And another thing I did yesterday, I changed and I took out those tubes and I just put in the anti-cyclone device, and that has helped a bunch. A guy at overclockers.com suggested this to me and showed me a video, and I mean, you can see my pump's running at full speed right now because I'm running a prime test session, and the water doesn't move one bit, so it's completely taking all turbulence out. I like that much better. Another thing I did, I didn't have a SATA 3 cable that was flat on both ends because of where I have my SSD mounted. I couldn't use the 90-degree one that came with the motherboard, so I ordered a sleeved one right here. You see there, so my SSD should be running at full speed now. I've also got this 4-pin Molex extension. There's on this motherboard there is 2 auxiliary power connectors on each side of the PCI lanes that can provide an additional 75 watts each to the graphics cards. I only had the one down there hooked up because I didn't have an extension there, but I've got that added, so that looks a lot better. It's taking shape. This is pretty much what it's going to look like. I got the sleeving yesterday as well, so I'm going to work on getting the cables, the PCI cables and the 24-pin sleeved over the next week or so when I'm screwing around at night. But that's pretty much it. Right now it's in the middle of a Prime 95 test run. I'm at 4.8 gigahertz at 1.4 volts. The longest I've been able to get it to go at this setting is about an hour and a half. But I've bumped my memory voltage up just a hair, and I think that was what was holding me back, because I'm actually about to go for 2 hours now, and that's kind of, I know a lot of people like to go for 6 hours, 12 hours, 24 hours. I did that with my last machine, my i7-920 machine. I went for 6 hours, I think. I'm not going to do that with this one. If it can get through 2 hours, I'm gonna then switch and a little more real world stress test. Like a popular one is a combination of AIDA64 and 3D Mark Vantage, because it loads your CPU and your graphics cards together, and it's more of a system-wide load like you're going to see in the real world in a gaming session. And if it does alright with that, I'll just, you know, test it in the real world. Stability is kind of a subjective issue, you know. It's, somebody asks, is it stable? Well, it depends on what you're doing with it. If it's stable for what you do with it, then it's, I suppose it's stable for you. But I do think my memory just didn't quite have enough voltage with that much. So a little bit about my temps. I really don't know what to expect with a water-cooled rig because I've never had one. Like I said, there's my settings: 1.4 volts, 4800 megahertz. You can see here my memory is running at 1866 CL9. That's what it's rated at. So I've just got XMP Profile 1 enabled there. Temperatures, there's a look at my temps on the processor. You know, you see it's kind of settled in there. I don't have a very even mount. I'm probably going to remount the block because, as you can see there, I've got an 8-degree difference on max temps between my highest and lowest core, so it's not mounted real evenly. I redid the screws and tried to screw it down in a better pattern to tighten it evenly yesterday, but I think it's actually an issue. I probably have a little more thermal paste in some spots and not enough in others. Trying the IC Diamond 7 thermal compound. I've used Arctic Silver 5 in the past and it was good, but a lot of people like this IC7 Diamond, so I'm trying that. I haven't tried Arctic Silver 5 to compare it to that, so I really can't tell you which one's better, but that's what we're doing right now, and I'm about at 2 hours here, so I honestly think I'm going to stop this thing pretty soon and try maybe fine-tuning some settings, turning down some minor voltages, see if I can keep it a little cooler, but yet still stable. So that's where we're at, and I think I've about got it stable, so that makes me happy.